In this podcast, we will be discussing sensitive topics such as sexual assault. It is important to take care of yourself while listening. Help is available through your local rape crisis center, and you can visit MCASA.org for more information on how to be connected. Hey everyone, it's Meredith, Training and Engagement Specialist at the Maryland Coalition Against Sexual Assault, and this is MCASA On the Go, the official podcast of the Maryland Coalition Against Sexual Assault. MCASA is the federally recognized state sexual assault coalition providing training, technical assistance, and policy advocacy to rape crisis centers and member organizations across the state. MCASA also provides direct legal services to survivors of sexual assault through our Sexual Assault Legal Institute. In this podcast, we discuss topics including, but not limited to, sexual violence prevention and response, legal issues surrounding sexual violence, and highlighting the services available for survivors across the state of Maryland. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, where we work to build a connected community dedicated to ending sexual violence and supporting survivors, so we're bringing back our SAM podcast series. In today's episode, we will be bringing awareness to deepfakes, artificial intelligence, and digital sexual violence. All right, everyone, welcome back to the fourth and final episode of our Sexual Assault Awareness Month podcast series, joined again, as always, by Maddy, Hanah, and Rhea. If you haven't listened to the first 3 episodes of our series, give those a listen now. But for those who are tuning into our series for the first time, we will, of course, again start with introductions.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maddy, LaCure. I'm the Policy Advocate for Prevention and Education at MCASA.
Hi, my name is Hanah, and I'm one of the program interns at MCASA.
My name is Rhea, and I'm also a program intern at MCASA.
And so for our final episode of this series, we wanted to bring awareness to another overlooked and often not talked about form of sexual violence that is kind of emerging in our spaces, and that is deepfakes and digital sexual violence. So Hanah is going to lead us through this episode. Hanah's done some research on this topic, and so I will pass it right over to Hanah to get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meredith. So obviously, we've seen a huge improvement in technology in the last few decades alone, and computers continue to become more and more intelligent, just like in all facets of the internet. In recent years, we've definitely seen this play out and reflected in modern cinema as they rely heavily on computer-generated imagery or CGI, especially when we think about like these big movies, right? Like Marvel and Star Wars, who use CGI for almost everything, even sets, scenery, and even their characters. And these scenes are often so well produced that it's really hard to distinguish what's real and what is CGI. However, more recently, deepfake technology has become the latest that is being talked about. This new form of computer-generated imagery is created when artificial intelligence is programmed to replace one person's image with another in a recorded video.
That's really interesting. I've definitely heard of deepfakes, but not really in the context of sexual violence. But where does the term deepfake come from?
Yeah, so the term deepfake actually comes from the underlying technology that is used to create deepfakes, which is called deep learning, which is another form of AI. Deep learning algorithms work by analyzing large amounts of data in order to learn and mimic the behavior of the human brain.
This technology is used to study an individual's face and swap it onto the video or photo of another person. So right now, the primary target of these algorithms are celebrities and public figures who are often edited into videos and photos without their knowledge. It's incredibly realistic and can be really hard to tell whether or not the images are real.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Definitely, raising some concerns for sure. How are we seeing deepfakes being used to cause harm?
Yeah, so this really started in 2017 on a Reddit forum called Deepfakes. And it was a forum created for sexually explicit or pornographic content that featured the face swapped actors. And since that time, non-consensual sexual videos have repeatedly been amplified by news and media outlets, and as a consequence, have severely damaged the reputation of celebrities and public figures. And according to the Center for Research and Education on Violence Against Women and Children, 96% of deepfakes on these websites are non-consensual sexual videos.
And although these videos aren't real, they do have a real impact on the individuals who are subject to them. Having your face, image, or your body being used to make non-consensual sexual deepfakes is a form of sexual violence, and it takes away the bodily autonomy of the survivor impacted and can have long-term effects on their mental and physical well-being.
Well, thank you for that background information. That's extremely jarring and frightening that technology, as good as it can be, and we can use it for so many beneficial things, is being kind of turned into something that can cause harm against, individuals. And so I think it's great that, we're bringing light to this and talking about it. What are you all coming across online that's related to deepfakes and other forms of digital sexual violence? And why do you think we're seeing this behavior online? I know it seems like sexual violence is always rooted in power and control, but is there a specific reason that someone might use this technology specifically to cause harm?
Yeah, I think obviously as technology progresses, people want to find new ways to, obviously this type of violence is all about removing the power and control from another individual, and the internet is just another facet to do that, especially when you think of things like blackmail. People can easily get a hold of images that aren't even real and use them to exploit people for money or even for more sexual images. So I think there's a real impact that the internet has on people because they can kind of do this without being seen and maybe feel that there are less consequences to it. But at the end of the day, it's still all about removing the power and control from another person.
When I first heard about deepfakes, it was on Twitter, and it was kind of used in a funny meme format. I remember seeing deepfakes of Donald Trump, and I think I saw deepfakes on Tom Cruise, and they were just saying random information that was meant to be funny. And then I kind of saw the dark side of deepfakes, especially with a lot of celebrities. I know people have been using deepfakes to put celebrities on pornographic videos, and a lot of these videos are uploaded to porn websites. And once it's out there, it's out there. And I know they get a lot of attention, especially on social media. And I can't imagine having someone have such power over you of an action that you haven't committed. I know that there needs to be some kind of regulations with artificial intelligence and deepfake technology, but I'm interested to see how other platforms are going to combat this issue as well.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, thinking about, the question of why are folks doing this? And I think, you both started to touch on that. It's this anonymity that comes along with being on the internet, that someone could create this or, take an image and share it widely without necessarily anyone knowing who it is, right? Unless you have the skills to track down who created that image and show that it was, the certain person that did it and then shared it. That can be a real challenge. So I think that anonymity factor just might embolden folks, right, to share something online that they might not have said directly to you or done in person. So I think that's, a big issue that we need to address. And then again, thinking why someone might do this to someone, that it's issues of betrayal, or maybe someone who's seeking revenge or seeking to embarrass someone, or doing this to, create some sort of fake pornographic content to destroy their reputation. So again, it all comes back to what Hanah and Rhea have been talking about in the series, is our discussions of power and control. And it's a way to take that control and agency away from someone in sharing something so personal, not even be a real image on the internet for anyone to see.
Yeah, and when I think of, how this can also fit into the broader context of power-based violence, it's just another tool to maintain power and control, like we've talked about. I know, we've talked about the anonymity of people online, but I think this can also be used by people who are maybe in intimate partner relationships or by people that we know in order to, threaten or extort someone that we are in a relationship with or someone that we're casually dating in order to further entrench them in that abuse, almost use it as a tool to threaten them, or embarrass them, or, send it to their work and their friends and their family. And because you may have had a sexual relationship with that person in the past, the deepfake video might not seem fake because, if people know you have a clear existing relationship with someone, then it doesn't seem as outlandish. And so I just think that it can be used by both people anonymously on the internet, but it can also be used within the dynamic of an intimate partner relationship too. So it's just scary that this is being used. And like I said earlier, technology is just rapidly evolving. And so I agree with what Rhea said. I'm, anxious to see how different platforms are going to combat this.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that when I was doing my research, I saw it referred to under a broader spectrum, not just these videos that are coming out from AI, but it was referred to as image-based sexual abuse. And I think people often forget that sharing an image non-consensually, whether it's real or fake, is a form of sexual violence. And I think that's often overlooked. And so I think that's possibly also why it sometimes gets overlooked on these platforms, because it's maybe not seen as bad as other forms of sexual violence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the use of this technology has really opened the door, right, for what we're starting here today, for this bigger conversation about digital safety. How do we all think that this new AI will impact sexual assault prevention education?
I think in terms of sexual assault prevention, I think this is just another conversation we need to start having with people as early as possible. Like kids now are having phones way younger than I ever had a cell phone. And the cell phones that they have are extremely advanced. They're not your average flip phone. They're iPhones and, smartphones with internet access and access, to a ton of apps that are used to create these deep fakes. And so I think just educating both parents and children about the use of this technology is crucial, and starting that, in age appropriate ways. It doesn't have to start with, hey, don't create pornographic material that depicts someone that's, not real, but maybe just starting with, hey, how can we create online content that doesn't harm others? How can we create online content that doesn't spread false information about someone else? I think it just really goes back to that education piece. Because I think parents to young children would be like really, really amazed at what their children can access online and on their phones. And so I think, educating the public on the issue is the first step.
I completely agree. I think in the same way that we handled cyberbullying when it first came about and how we handled that with kids is the same way that, or a very similar way that we could handle this. Like Meredith said, kids now have so much access to technology, and the technology is very advanced, as we can see. So just having that conversation about digital safety and what that looks like, and just being prepared to evolve the work so that it does include the digital scene and internet, and how the internet has a real impact on survivors of sexual assault. I think it's key that we integrate that into the prevention work.
Yeah, I would just echo everything you both shared and add that these conversations again are so important to be having with parents and youth, as well as adults of all ages, right? The technology is advancing so quickly. I think of seniors and the aging population as well, that might feel like they're catching up with all this new technology that's coming out to still connect, and are also a group that is vulnerable to this type of exploitation online as well. So thinking about that in our prevention programming of all ages, and young folks who might be afraid to tell someone what's happening, or that someone online is trying to exploit them for images or is making these images. There's a lot of shame that comes around with that, and wanting to also in our prevention work and in our messaging really talk about that, this is not the fault of the survivor, the person who's experiencing that at all. If someone is taking advantage of them, or whether it's catfishing them online, all of these things that could be happening, that if someone is exploiting that relationship they built with you in an online space, for whether it's explicit content or extortion, all kinds of things that are happening, to let them know that it is not their fault and that there are support services available, and the person that is sharing their images or demanding images is really in the wrong. So I think that's really important in our prevention messaging too, so that more survivors feel comfortable, coming forward and seeking help with digital violence. And so, I just started to kind of touch on supporting survivors there. What else can we do to support survivors who have had their images or content shared without their permission? In this research, how do we see that advocates in the tech industry are working to combat the sharing of this explicit content?
At the moment, there is limited technology to combat deepfakes beyond directly requesting that the website remove it, since this AI is so new. However, the app Take It Down is a service that was created by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to help remove nude or partially nude images of minors from the internet.
Wow, that's great that there's a new resource out there. Do you know how Take It Down works?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to read directly off their website here because I think that they say it best. But Take It Down works by assigning a unique digital fingerprint called a hash value to nude, partially nude, or sexually explicit images or videos of people under the age of 18. Online platforms can use hash values to detect these images or videos on their services and remove this content. This all happens without the image or video ever leaving your device or anyone viewing it. Only the hash value will be provided to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
This service has a few challenges and can't address all images on the internet. The first is that anyone can easily screenshot the image and reshare it. The issue here is that by screenshotting the image, it creates a new hash value, and without that value, the company cannot remove the original image. The other issue is that this service is not universal and does not work on every platform. So at the moment, the only companies who are participating in Take It Down are Facebook, Instagram, OnlyFans, Pornhub, TikTok, and Yubo, meaning if the image is shared anywhere else, the company isn't currently able to remove the image.
Yeah, and I think, even despite those challenges, right, I don't think there'll ever be a perfect one-size-fits-all solution for this really complicated issue, but this is definitely a step in the right direction and is going to be super helpful for youth. And then I also just want to point out, it's also for adults who may have an image shared of them from when they were under 18 can also utilize the service to have that image or video of them removed that was taken before they were 18. So this is definitely a great new tool for youth survivors, and we're hoping it's really helpful for folks with getting those images removed, and also connecting them with services for the impacts that come with having to deal with this really, really difficult experience. Are there any other resources available to adult survivors as well?
Yeah, so there are resources that are available to adult victims of non-consensual image sharing. Stop Non-Consensual Intimate Image Abuse supports individuals internationally with image location and removal from online platforms. And if you want to learn more about your legal options in Maryland, you can contact MCASA's Sexual Assault Legal Institute at 301-565-2277.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you, Hanah, for bringing this topic to us for our podcast series. Thank you so much to Hanah, Rhea, and Meredith for supporting us through this whole SAM series. We hope you've learned some new information. If you have ideas for future topics, please send those our way. And thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening to MCASA On the Go. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to support our podcast, please be sure to subscribe, share with others, and share on social media. If you or someone you know is a survivor of sexual violence, help is available. To find your local rape crisis center for advocacy and counseling services, please visit the website at the link in the description of this episode. For legal help, you can call MCASA's Sexual Assault Legal Institute at 301-565-2277 or toll free at 877-496-SALI. Thanks for listening to our 2023 Sexual Assault Awareness Month podcast series. If you have any ideas for future episodes or have questions about MCASA and our programs, you can email us at info@mcasa.org.